Last time I didn't watch him for an extended period of time. I was coming back from a recruiting trip, and they were down 24-0 when I walked in the house. Had every friend in the world text me about lost again at home in the playoffs. The world's come to an end. As soon as I walked in, I walked in, and it's when they Texans did go for it on 4th and short, and I told my wife, I said, that's a huge mistake. I said, because they weren't stopping them, and I said, they better bury him.
Got to keep your foot on the throat.
That was I get all the, but that was
Yep. Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So good.
That's good.
Okay, Coach, go ahead and start us off with the Michigan review.
Yeah, Michigan was a unique game to rewatch from the standpoint that I felt after the game that we had the best player on the court who made a great play and we won. I probably didn't give enough credit to how good Andres Feliz was in the second half. I knew he was good, but it just wasn't one end of the court. In a night that obviously we were 4 of 16 with G and Cove, and then the value of DeMonte Williams in that game was incredible. So Trent was off to such a good start in that game, and was really, we got off to a great start offensively. We probably missed it more defensively because he was doing such an incredible job early on Xavier. So, but it was a hard fought road win. We're sure they're not going to give it back. But we didn't play great. We didn't play with the kind of the same energy and pop we had earlier in the week at Purdue. But again, IL wouldn't let us go home with a loss. So I'm glad he's on our side, and now we turn around and get a team in Minnesota who might have 2 of the best players in our league. So glad to get through last week, and we did it playing great one night and not so good the other, and that's what happens in 20 games in conference play. You got to find a way to win those games, and we were able to do that. Minnesota, like I said, has got 2 of the 5 best players in the league, I think, and Marcus Carr's been terrific at the point, and Oturo, I've said, is the most improved player in the country, and his offensive talents are not limited to anything. And he's a very, very good rebounder. He's a very good shot blocker, and he's scoring in a lot of ways. And then when you combine that and surround them with 2 perimeter shooters, and Kalsher and Willis, makes for a very, very good offensive basketball team. So we'll have our hands full defensively tomorrow night.
How much of a difference has Carr made for them, where maybe last season Coffey was kind of put into point forward?
He's a true point. I mean, he's a true point, and he's a guy that he puts so much pressure on the defense. He can do it with the bounce. He can do it going right. He can do it going left. You can't. He's a guy that if you make a mistake and go under and give him a clean look, he's going to make a 3. He's a great assist guy. So he's from the offensive side of things. He didn't have Amir's size in terms of being 6'7" or 8, but what he does on the basketball court is pretty special.
Brad, defensively, you obviously have changed things up from last season, but what was the process like to get this buy-in that's led to this execution?
Well, I think it's continued to grow as we've had success with it. There's nothing like having a little success. I think we fought it early and in the season, and it was so different, and we had to get guys out of habits of denying and the hard overplay, and we still got back cut a great deal in the early part of the season, and guys were out of position, and yet as we started to have some success with it, and then confidence has grown, and our techniques tightened up, and we've started to make fewer and fewer mistakes. So there's a confidence that's come with that, and that's been a big part of this overall team's growth.
Brad, there's been this narrative about the home court advantage being even bigger this year in Big Ten play. When I looked at the home road splits for you in Big Ten play, at least the basic stats seem pretty even. How consistent do you feel like you guys have been?
I hope that's the case.
Yeah.
And I haven't looked at ours in a while. That means you're doing some things pretty good on the road, and obviously I don't want to. We had a 75% field goal percentage half at Purdue that could skew some things, but I thought we've played well. Both ends of the court for the most part, and it's a hard league to win on the road. I mean, you got packed houses and a lot of energy and a lot of emotion in these games. So we've done it different ways, and that's been probably the most encouraging thing for me. Is we've had nights where our bigs have scored a bunch and our guards haven't, and vice versa. We've had nights we've shot it well and nights we haven't, and so I'm excited about that aspect of it.
Brett, how has Andres' role evolved this year, and how underrated is his responsibility that you give him, having to guard ones and twos and threes and being your primary ball handler?
Yeah, he's very cerebral as a player, and we started him early, and that wasn't something I was as comfortable with. Not the starting lineup, not the group that was on the floor. It's more about what we had or didn't have at the time coming off the bench. And he had so much success doing that last year, and you want that spark plug. You want that trigger to have somebody that comes in and impacts the game, and is one of your better players. And Dre is that. And he impacts it on the glass. He impacts it with passes. He impacts it by scoring. He impacts it in transition. There's not a piece of the game that he doesn't have a hand in impacting the game. So. It's a huge part of what we do. Defensively, he can guard multiple guys because of his strength, and it's pretty easy. He's a very, very valuable piece to everything we're doing.
Coming back home, we had talked about how tough it was to play at Purdue and Wisconsin and on throughout the league. With how you guys are playing, I know that down the road Indiana's sold out. You're not worried about that one, but just what are you hoping out of this building here, upcoming stretch?
Yeah, Purdue, Michigan State, those were pretty hard places to play, and we've got great fans, and they show up, and the more energy they provide, and the louder, the better. I'm a big noise guy, so I love it as there's loud moves people, and it excites people, and. I don't think there's any doubt we've got some of the greatest fans in the country. We've been in the top 25 for 30 plus years in terms of attendance, and we're very proud of that. And if it's not sellout, I know it'll be very, very close to it.
This offseason, how did you just notice Iowa take his game to another level to get it to the point where it is right now?
Well, most of that comes from confidence, and the confidence comes from experience. And you see that develop in players differently throughout their career. Iowa was fortunate last year that I don't know what we went 11, 12 games, but he got to be a part of all of that, and he got to grow, and he got to experience some of that, and be considered the guy, in some ways. So now it becomes all that experience and all that understanding of what's coming and what the venues are like and what other players are like and what teams do to you. There's a confidence that comes because I've seen that before. And yeah, he's changed physically. He's added 19, 20 pounds. He's continued to work on the skill set part of his game, which is very good. So, you know, for him, it's just comfort and confidence that comes from understanding and experience.
And you mentioned last week that you guys kind of have been able to handle maybe the increased attention with this winning streak pretty well. Is that just natural for them? Is that in their personalities, or is that something that you've had to talk to them about and maybe get them to understand?
Well, we talk a little bit. We haven't talked ad nauseum about it. You know, I think it's this group is. I want them to have their personality. I want them to be able to express who they are and do that. And I think this group has a sense about us that's. As soon as I say mature, Derek will disagree, but it has a sense that we can handle some things. But yeah, every now and then we got to check them. There's no doubt, and you know, it's like we tell them all the time: don't believe everything you read on social media, and don't believe everything you hear on social media when it's bad, good or bad. So you know, we're in there a little bit, but we don't have to be too much.
So Saturday in the media conference in Michigan, first name, once you start talking about the game, first name out of your mouth was DeMonte Williams. And I'm wondering where that comes from and what you're seeing out of him, especially on the defensive end of the floor, that just makes him so valuable.
Well, he's 6'3", he's got close to a 7-foot wingspan, and we asked him to guard 5 men at times and 4 men at times, who are 6'9" or 6'10". He's extremely strong. There's a play in the game where Isaiah Livers tries to back him down. And he goes at him 3 straight times. And DeMonte's got an arm bar up and is wedged. And I mean wedged, low and aggressive. And Livers hits him 3 times and doesn't move him. And that I have tremendous appreciation for. Because a lot of guys will either cave and let him go. Okay, but to do that 3 times, there's some toughness, there's some grit, and physically he's capable of doing that. And then all of a sudden, the next play, you know, he's chasing around DeJulius off a ball screen and doesn't miss those assignments. That's where my appreciation for everything that he does. And then, you know, 3 minutes later, we're making a switch and saying, oh, you got to guard Xavier now. So you're going to have to get over the top of every ball screen, and you're going to have to get back under, and he doesn't miss a beat. He never misses. He very, very seldom do I ever get on DeMonte Williams for making a mistake in execution.
Kobe was Iowa's favorite player. I know he meant a lot of players in this generation. From your vantage point as a coach, what did he mean to basketball and just these players right now in general?
Yeah, I grew up with Jordan, and you know was you know, the Larry Birds, the Magics. You know, those were guys I can remember going as a kid and watch. You know, Larry Bird play at Indiana State, play Wichita State, and like, wow, you know, those are the guys that you became your idols, and you watched them throughout their careers, and always had a special place, and that's what Kobe was for this group. And you know, there's a shoe named after him, and you know, it's I never got to meet Kobe. People have been around him a lot that I know, and you know, and it's tragic what happened, and yet he was so powerful because not just as a great competitor, and he won 5 championships, but because of, you know, what he was off the court and what he stood for, and how hard he worked. And I think everybody in the world, in any sport, you've seen it touch every sport literally, and the greats in other sports, they know how hard he worked to become great. And those stories are legendary. And so there's tremendous appreciation for greatness, and you know, it's very sad, and it does impact our guys. You know, that and sometimes our young people today don't understand. You know, he woke up that morning and expected to go see his daughter play an AAU game, and life was great, and the next morning didn't come. And our guys don't understand that sometimes, and they think they're bigger than life itself. So a lot of lessons in that. But yeah, there's no doubt. You know, Alan had been around him some because of his father, and you know, my son idolized him. Tyler loved him. So you know, they all had their moments and their day on Sunday in disbelief.
Brad, at the beginning of the season, you talked about this team trying to find an identity. Where do you feel like your identity is now, and is this the kind of identity that you want? Yeah, absolutely. I think we're trying to still are working constantly at the toughness aspect, at the game-to-game approach. I think we're getting there. I think we've shown that we can be that team that's resilient on the road. And then I think we're a team that doesn't have to have a certain way to win. That I'm excited about. We can sit down and guard and be great. You know, you look at our numbers statistically, one of the best defensive teams in this league. That's where we want to be. And you know, it all goes back to what I've said this spring. We're trying to find a way to win on the road when the ball doesn't go in, and we've found a way to do that some. And that's a toughness and a culture that I hope never leaves.
You guys have faced some pretty good bigs this season, but is this week with Ochoa and Garza on Sunday maybe one of the bigger challenges for Kofi this year?
Is that who we play Sunday? Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, he's a lottery pick. Guy tomorrow's a lottery pick. And, you know, I talk to people that, you know, he reminds me a lot of Kevin Garnett with his package, his athleticism, his skill set. You know, he's going to score some baskets, and we just have to make him hard. And you know, that's my main focus now is guys understand, and you know, his talent. Yes, we've faced a lot of really good bigs, but you know, we've got to make those challenges hard. There's really good players when you're at the high major level, and you know, this one's no different. See you guys tomorrow.